Totally. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Today, for our How To Monday, which I'm actually recording on Monday right before I upload this, because I was unable to get the full footage for next week's How To Monday. But that's besides the point. What we're going to be talking about today, guys, is 4 different types of rods and reel combinations to get you guys, the beginners, out on the water with the right gear. Now, oh, come on. There we go. Oh, long pole. Alright. The first rod I have here is what's considered a spinning rod or a spinning reel. The whole function of this is that you open up the bail here until it clicks, right? Not a very loud click, but you cast out your line, you have to clip it, cast it, and then when you reel, the bail flips back and you reel in your line. But these rods have bigger guides on them, as you can hopefully see right there. That's a pretty big guide, right? That's to allow for the motion of the line. If you can hopefully notice, it's high-vis yellow line, but it's spinning a lot, right? Because the top bail is going in a circular motion, thus creating more spin within the line, so they need to account for that. This is our first rod that we'll be taking a look at. It is called the spinning rod and reel, I guess. This is a spinning rod, this is a spinning reel. These are normally the second stop for a lot of people. This was kind of my first stop. This is where I really got into fishing, was with one of these. This is probably one of your most standard, everybody's got one in their garage, basement. They use one when they go out fishing. This is probably your most standard, and for good reason too. I personally have worked in bait and tackle store before, and I can say that taking these things apart next to the conventional reel, which we will be showing you later, these are the second easiest to take apart. And a lot of them, as you can see, there's a little button on top here. Just push that. The whole thing will come off. You can put on another spool with different type of line. So let's say you're wanting to fish light one day and you want, 10-pound line. And then the next day you want to go out and you want to have 15-pound line. You can do that with 2 separate spools. So how these operate is basically you open up your bail, you hold the line with your index finger against the, handle part. You bring it back after you open up your bail, and then you cast it forward. I actually believe I'm using this reel in my intro. This reel and rod I'm using in my intro. But basically, let's say you cast out like that. You start to reel in, your bail will close automatically, it'll click, and then it'll spin. Spinning reel, spinning rod. The reel will spin to retrieve your line. Hence why you need, there's my guitar going. Oh, we're making music. But that is why you have larger guides on your rods when you have a spinning rod. The other rods and reels that we will be taking a look at have smaller guides or even roller guides, as we will talk about. And our second rod will be the Ultimate Push Button Rod. So these are pretty much straightforward again, just like the spinning rod. The reason why they call it a push button reel is because you push a button to release your line. Now, these rods, along with the other 2 that I'm going to be showing you today, have small guides on them. So you'll notice that there is a distinct difference. Now, this rod isn't actually meant for this purpose. I just have a couple of these short rods that I have laying around, and I threw a small reel on it. I basically have this rod so that Minifin can have a little something if she wants to just cast. So the way that you operate this system is you push the button at the bottom of the reel, you'll hear a click, and then you hold it down. As you cast, you let go of that button and your line will go out. To retrieve, you just start reeling in. There's no bails, there's no anything. It combines the best of both worlds from a bait caster and conventional rod with the simplicity of the system, not having to deal with the bail, with the reliability of the spinning reel, in the sense of you don't have line coming off the reel and you don't have it spooling up as much on the inside here. But basically, if you take off your cap, you are kind of left with a spinning reel design there. But this is lined up with 8-pound mono. It's a great little setup. I don't really use it that often, but I know it's a very popular thing for a lot of beginners. Wow, I am not Englishing well today. This is popular with a lot of beginners just because of its simplicity, because it will not spool up as much, because it's just very straightforward. If you're looking for something to start off with and you don't want just a stick with a piece of line on it, my suggestion is go with one of these. And third on the list is probably by far my favorite bass fishing style rod and reel setup. That would be the Baitcaster. Now, this reel is extremely similar to the one that we're going to be looking at next, the conventional. The only difference is these are lighter. From what I know, these are lighter, meant for largemouth bass fishing and lake fishing, stream fishing, that kind of stuff. The conventional reels are often meant for bigger fish, saltwater game. But let's take a look at this one because I think you guys will love this. Alright, so if you remember the unboxing video that I did, if I can just, there we go, was on this reel, the Fish Drop LB 200, I believe it was. It doesn't have, oh yeah, LB 200L. Yep. But the reason why I love this rod and reel is because it's extremely accurate. You can really cast out and get it to where you want it to go. And the action on these things is just phenomenal. This is a one-piece rod, looks really sharp, looks professional, and if you know how to operate them well, they can really make the difference when you're going out fishing. But in this week's Freshwater Friday, you'll see this reel. This thing is my go-to now that I got it. I'm still kind of figuring it out a little bit. You can notice like a little bit of line is spooled up in there a little bit. I still have to get used to everything. But for the most part, these guides on these rods for the bait casters are extremely small. Now this rod is a little, I wouldn't say on the cheaper side, but it's a little less expensive, so the guides are a little bit larger. So basically how you operate these reels is you have your line, or you have your bait, you reel up to the point at which you're going to cast, right? You click the button right down here by the base of the spool. You click that. Now your spool is like free to let line out, right? And you will have to dial that in with the knob that's next to the handle to get it to right where your bait starts to go down. So you have to adjust it for the weight so that you don't spool up. But you click that, you take it back like you're going to cast it, you let it go, and same thing with the push button. You let go of the spool as you go out to cast. So then you have to kind of keep your finger on that, watching how fast line's coming out, because it will spool up if you let it go. When your bait hits the water and the line is still going out and the momentum behind the reel is still going, it'll keep on letting the line out, but there's nowhere for it to go, so it'll spool up your reel. So to counteract that, as soon as you see your lure starting to go towards the water, as soon as it's about to hit, you just stop the reel, because there's enough slack in the air that it'll just drop right where you need it to, or you can drop it before you even get to the target. If you want to cast out and then drop it suddenly, you can do that too. A lot of the time you will cast sideways, not overhead. But these are, if you want to get into professional fishing, that's what you will most likely be using as your standard. I still use the spinning rod when I'm having trouble with the bait caster. Sometimes I'll be in an area where I can't really cast the bait caster that well, and then I'll just bring in the spinner. I'll just be able to really flick it in there easy. I'm still at that point where the spinning reel is easier for me to just kind of flick into areas and even make overhead casts, long casts. But I'm starting to get better with the bait caster. And lastly, guys, we will be looking at the conventional rod. So these things are a staple in every big game fisherman's tackle, so to speak. Every person's going to have one of these, regardless of whether it's freshwater, saltwater. If you're going after big fish, you're using one of these guys, because I cannot, at full drag, I cannot pull a line out of this. But this has 60-pound test line. The other rods had 15-pound test on it, just to put it out there. These things are meant to pull in big fish. Striped bass, I'd even say some of the smaller tuna could get pulled in with this reel, the Senator, depending on what line you have, how much time you're fighting, etc. But these rods, I mean, you can get Penn Internationals. These are what you go out with tuna for, go out for sharks, you name it, big fish. This is what you're using. But you'll notice these guides are a little bit different. These are called roller guides. These are meant for heavy line and steel line that are often used when fishing for fish such as sharks, even bluefish, sailfin, anything that's going to have teeth or some way to break off regular mono line, they'll use a steel leader for. And often steel line is at a higher pound test, obviously, because it's steel. But these roller guides ensure that the normal plastic ceramic inner circle on the normal guides will be broken by such heavy use and heavy tugging on the rod with such heavy line. So that's why they have the roller guides in place. And these are really cool. I've worked with these before when making a rod. They are extremely nice, and you can notice the tip there is just one kind of ball bearing, so to speak. But these are extremely tough rods, guys. If you're looking to get into big game fishing, these are what you're using. And not all conventional rods and reels are meant for large fish. You can get smaller reels for that little boat rod that I have. You get them bigger. You can get them with the auto liner, whatever the guide is for that you'd have on the bait caster. Blanking on the name of it right now, but there's so many different types. I've worked on reels where they don't have a drag system. The only drag system that they have is a leather patch that you'd put your thumb on. That was your that leather patch was your tension that you'd be putting on the reel to put drag on your line to fight the fish. But that's kind of a short look into different rods and reels, guys. If you're a real beginner and you don't know anything about these rods or reels, I would suggest going with either the spinner reel or go with the push button. You can find kits out there that are under 20 bucks. I've seen them for 10 bucks at Walmart, spinner rod combos. The little kid combos that are themed, like Barbie themed, those are in push button most of the time. If you're looking to step up your game, I would suggest looking at Baitcaster. Buy your first one used. That's what I did. So that kind of gives you a chance. Well, if I don't like it, I didn't spend 200 bucks on it. So that's kind of that. And of course, guys, if you're going into something heavier and you eventually want to dream about going out and doing heavy, deep sea fishing, this is what you'll need. These are normally pretty expensive. So I'd make sure that you know what you're doing before you get to one of these. And it's really easy to get a bird's nest in the reel. But that's kind of the how-to Monday for this week, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below, as well as a comment. What was your favorite rod? If you're using something, what are you using right now? Also, if I didn't do a good job explaining something, leave a comment and maybe I can revisit the subject. I can add on to next week's How To Monday at the end of the video to kind of clarify things for you guys, or release another video. I'm all about that. So I believe, if I'm doing this right, one of these directions, I want to say it's this way, but I could be wrong. It could be this way. One of these ways, on the top there is next week's video, and on the bottom is last week's video. I could be getting that mixed up too. One of them will take you to next week's video, the other one will take you to last week's video. There's also my social media accounts down below. I will be trying to set up links on those if I can. If not, they're pretty easily accessible. I put in the usernames for you. But this is kind of our end screen now. But without further ado, guys, I'll see you in the next video. I've been Finn from Finn's Fishing Nation. Have a good day and catch a big fish.